Morning, intuitives. Wanted to get a quick video out before I head in for yet another double shift. So, music, and I've been getting into that topic a lot lately, and it got me thinking, on the struggles that teenage INFJs have, and it reminded me of the music that helped me pull those through those times. So today, I want to discuss what I consider the undisputed anthem for teenage INFJs, and that would be Subdivisions by Rush, which, I highly suggest you go listen to it, but it opens as a song about growing up in the suburbs and not fitting in. I mean, some of the lyrics in the songs include, growing up, it all seems so one sided, opinions all provided, the future pre decided, detached and subdivided in the mass production zone. Nowhere is the dreamer or the misfit so alone. Pretty much describes an INFJ to a T, how we're different than the quote average pack. We don't care, or a lot of times just outright reject conformity, and we have our dreams and aspirations that most people would tell us we're crazy, because as I've mentioned in previous videos, there seems to be this prevailing attitude in the suburbs, and I think it was way more prevalent like when people my age, I'm 34, were growing up in the 2000s, people, or even older, people with baby boomer parents, that you can't leave the area you grew up in for whatever reason. And they never, I mean, I've never been explained why. I just get answers like, well, that's just how it's done. That's what you do. You don't leave. The boomer thinks because they're from that area that automatically makes that area the most desirable place in the world that everybody wishes they lived, because that's their level of narcissism. And again, not every boomer. I'm specifically talking about boomer relatives of mine and some of their friends to a lesser extent. So, the song Subdivisions talks about basically a teenager who is focused on the future, wants to move to a big city, which that hits right home for me when I was younger, because I've talked about how I wanted to be a professional firefighter since I was 17. Well, I wanted to move to a big city and out of the suburbs since I was 10. Yeah, so that's been a long-standing dream of mine, and I have done it from time to time. I lived in Pittsburgh for a little while. I lived in Toronto, and I lived in Arlington, which is literally right over the bridge from DC, and hopefully London or Dublin is next. So, that need to want to get out of that very cliquey, everybody knows everybody kind of environment, very good old boys, where if you're targeted if you dare speak out against the old boys club, because they run the show and that's the way it's always been, and dang on, you don't question that, it just is what it is kind of bullshit. And Subdivision speaks to that too. I mean, one of the other lyrics is, in the high school halls, in the shopping malls, conform or be cast out. And that, those lyrics hit home for me too, because in the context of narcissistic abuse, I grew up the black sheep of my family, and I don't just mean my immediate family, I mean my extended family too. I was always the black sheep from, I mean, really, I would say as far back as I remember, but I can't really honestly say if I was a black sheep as a toddler. But since like kindergarten, since when I started school, simply because I didn't just blindly fall in line and follow whatever the boomers were spewing. And I questioned things because things didn't add up. And being an INFJ, I didn't know it at the time, obviously, but being an INFJ, I put patterns together and be like, well, wait a minute, they said this last week about the same thing. Like, there's no consistency here. Like, they're just making it up as they go along. They're full of shit, or they're a fucking hypocrite, which most of my family are. So that song really resonated to me in my teen years, and it basically, if I had to describe what it was like for me as a teenager growing up in the suburbs of Philadelphia via a song, Subdivisions by Rush would definitely be that song. And it's, to me, it's scary how accurate that song that was written in 1982 describes my teen experience during the George W. Bush years. So, I wanted to give a little personal insight on that song and highly recommend it to any INFJs out there, particularly if you're younger. It kind of was important to me at the time. I didn't know what an INFJ was, but that song was comforting to me to be like, wow, other people had a similar teen experience to me. And Neil Peart might have been an INFJ. I'm not 100% sure. I've seen him in articles I've read over the past couple years listed under celebrity examples, but to be honest, I haven't seen, though I'm a big Rush fan, I haven't seen very many interviews with Neil Peart. Most of them have been with Geddy Lee. So, it remains to be seen. I'm fairly certain Neil Peart was an introvert of some kind, but was he an INFJ? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not qualified to answer that. So, an important song for INFJs and perhaps all intuitives, especially introverted intuitives, about getting through a rough stage of life that some people look back on 20 years later as the greatest time in their life, which to me is sad. That means they peaked in their teen years, and your teen years really aren't much about your own merit. If your biggest life accomplishment was, how good you were at the high school sports ball team, that ain't saying much. That ain't saying much. I mean, I played hockey in high school. It was fun. I was an enforcer defenseman. I had a lot of penalty minutes and a bunch of assists, but it doesn't really mean anything to me now, other than like, wow, that was a good time. Hockey's cool, kind of thing. So, if you're a younger INFJ in their teen years, and you want to listen to a song that should let you know you're not alone in your teen experience, "Subdivisions" by Rush is that song. And I'm going to close this by saying, please, link below, donate the same you by the end of the month. Come on, $5. Think of me as like your bartender, and I'm giving you advice. And you're not gonna tip your bartender and tip the bartender who's gonna give the money to charity. So there's that little message. All right, never sell out your integrity. Always trust your intuition. Donate to charity and try to mentor younger INFJs so they don't have to go through what you went through. And I'll catch you later today.